Welcome to this week's Brittany's Bites. This week we are making a dish that can serve as a side dish for a meal or full meal, or you can maybe take it to a party. I saw a version of this online and I thought, ooh, I could use my own recipe with this because you probably remember I made those crispy smashed potatoes before. Very popular recipe in this household. Love to make them, easy to make, and really win over a crowd. But this is a little twist on that, is a crispy smashed potato salad with some of the ingredients you see here. So just a reminder, you could go back and find that recipe, but I'll go through it again very quickly as far as making the base, which is those crispy smashed potatoes. I just got a little bag of those petite gold potatoes. That's the kind I like to use. I think those taste the best, they cook up the best, so the gold potatoes. You could try it with another kind if you like, totally fine. But just that small bag, and then you just put it in some cold water. Have the water about an inch over the potatoes, boil until it's soft. You can sort of prick it with a fork or a knife. And then I let them sit and drain for a minute because, ooh, yes, the drier they get, they're still a little hot. The drier they get, the better it's gonna stick to everything or everything you put on it, and it's gonna get crispier in the oven. So, speaking of the oven, I have it preheated to 450 degrees. I've got my pan here that I just covered with some aluminum foil and then sprayed down with some avocado spray just to prevent some sticking. So again, I basically have had these air drying and draining for just a few minutes. I want to get them on there. And then typically I would take a glass and maybe spray a little nonstick spray on the bottom and smush, but I saw this trick online the other day that I wanted to try. So I'm going to grab here a little piece of parchment paper, protect it, and then you just take another cookie sheet and put it right on top and try to smush them. So I'm gonna see if this works. I can feel them smushing, and then that sort of saves you from trying to do each individual one, and it really gets them smashed. Let's see if that worked. And then hopefully it didn't stick too much. Oh yeah, look at that. How fun is that? And you also don't even get that dirty because you have your sheet of parchment paper there. So here we go, our smashed potatoes. Now, this is also my recipe that I had before. I'm just gonna take about a half stick of butter. You don't have to use that much if you don't like. Sometimes I will do just about 2 tablespoons and then fill it with olive oil, but we are indulging a little bit today. And then I'm gonna use some of this garlic later, so I just sort of minced up 2 cloves of garlic. So I'm just gonna try to use like one of them, so about half of this to put in. I melted this butter in the microwave, by the way. So I'm just gonna get this mixed up and then pour it on top. There we go. Drizzle this all over, and I may not use it all. Well, all of my garlic is at the bottom, so now I've got to use it all. Okay, and then the seasoning mix that I always use, this Himalayan pink salt with black pepper and garlic. I don't know why, but this is the seasoning that just makes these potatoes. So if you can get your hands on this, great. If not, you could just use salt and pepper and some garlic and it'll be totally fine. So I'm gonna sprinkle a good amount on here. Great. Okay, so those are all ready to go into the oven, and then all we need to do after that is to make the sauce that we're gonna use to make this potato salad. So I'm gonna put this in the oven for about 30 minutes or so, just give it an eyeball, and basically just bake it until you see it getting as crispy as you'd like it to be and as golden brown as you would like it to be, because it's all about your preference. And then get it out of the oven and we'll go on to the next step. So about 30 minutes in the oven, again at 450 degrees. We are now ready to put together that crispy smashed potato salad. So the potatoes are out of the oven. I had them in there for about a half an hour at 450 degrees to get them really nice and crispy. I actually blasted them with the broil on high for just a minute or two as well. Got them nice and crispy, and I turned them out onto this cutting board so I could slice them up a little bit or chop them up to make more bite-sized pieces, but they are nice and fragrant and hot still and steamy and crispy. And that's the important part because we want to keep them crispy. So we're doing this a little bit different than we would a normal potato salad where you mix everything together. We're going to have a dressing that we're going to put together and put it on the bottom and then put the potatoes on top. And then you can sort of dip it in as you're eating it. It's so good. Okay, so let's get started on that. take this out here. We're going to make things a little bit healthier than they could be, because you could really do sour cream, but I'm gonna do Greek yogurt. I'm just gonna do about a tablespoon of Greek yogurt. Put it right in here. And this is sort of, you know, measure a little bit with your eyeball. It doesn't have to be exact. And then light mayo instead of normal mayo, and put it in here about the same amount, about a tablespoon there. And then, oh, I love mustard-based potato salad, so hopefully you do as well. We're gonna actually make this a little bit honey mustard-based. So I'm just gonna be doing about, oh, that was ready to come. It never comes out, so I turned it upside down, and boy, it is coming out now. All right, I only want like a teaspoon in there, so we'll get that going. And then that is Dijon, by the way. I will clean that up in a moment. Actually, give me a pause, and I will clean this up. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Things are a little bit cleaned up now. So we had that teaspoon or so of Dijon mustard. Now I'm gonna get the stone ground mustard and put in about the same. I really like it though, so I'm really being generous with it. All right, then we have the rest of that garlic I used earlier. So it was about a teaspoon that I used earlier. So I'm gonna put about a teaspoon in there. Then, well, that's actually about half a teaspoon. Just use the rest of that. Then I'm gonna put in, speaking of teaspoons, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. This is why I love these measuring spoons that have two ends. One that can usually fit in easier to things, but also you can use both ends if you're doing two different things like I just did. All right, and then we're gonna do a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I'm sure you can probably substitute with another vinegar if you have it, but I love using apple cider vinegar. I really like the tang of it. There we go with that. Then I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons of honey, and I'm just going to eyeball this because I don't really wanna have to put it into the spoon and then try to get it out again. I think that's good. Then I have a little bit of Parmesan cheese. You can use fresh grated if you'd like, but this is what I have, and it's fine just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. I'm also gonna sprinkle some on top. And then, to give it a little freshness, I have some chives, and I'm gonna sprinkle these on top as well, but I also wanna put some in here. So just doing, I don't know, I think that's about a tablespoon, just enough to mix it in here. And I think we've got all of our ingredients, yes, including a lot of that Dijon, right? So I'm just gonna mix it all up, make sure it's all combined. It has a really nice color as well. That paprika, man. It smells great. So this is basically the basis for our potato salad. Let me sort of clean this off here. Now we're gonna put this on the bottom of a plate, a nice serving tray that I have over here, and then put everything on top. So I want to scoop this out sort of nicely if I can. I should have brought a spoon, but we'll try this. Well, maybe I can just sort of gently put it on the plate. We want it to look pretty, right? So I'm gonna start in the middle and then spread it out. Okay, I'm just gonna carefully spread it out because we wanna be able to see that there's a sauce on the bottom so that people know that they can scoop it out and dip it in however you end up serving this. All right. I think that is pretty good. Now what I'm gonna do is carefully, because again, we're trying to serve this up nicely, stack some of these potatoes right in the middle. Making sure that we're careful to sort of leave some on the edge that you can see where that we have our sauce. But how pretty is this as well? And if you served this at dinner, what a little showstopper, right? I could have stopped there, but I have all of these crispy bits that I want to use because they're so good. Those are the best part, right? There we go. Okay, now the last thing I want to do is just do a little sprinkle of this Parmesan cheese once again. And then I'm gonna take the rest, or at least another pinchful of these chives, and put it right on top. How beautiful is this? And really, it came together so simply. You're just mixing together that sauce and then baking the potatoes in the oven. And this looks like quite the professional dish, right? So if you would like to give this crispy mashed potato salad a try, you can go online for the full recipe at WBIR.com.